So before we get started, check out the following links in the description box below as highlighted in the image shown. So you'll be able to get our past papers, our link to our official website, link to accreditations, our link to donation page, and contact details in the description. So once you'll be watching a certain video of any lesson or of any past paper, you'll be able to get all these links, and you can be able to get to download past papers, to reach to our official website. You'll be able to see links to our accreditations so that you can see which authorities have accredited us. You'll be able to reach to our donation page as well as our contact details.
Okay, welcome back to another lesson. We continue with our revision series, and in this video we want to look at an exam that was done in August 2022, Fundamentals of Finance, and our focus is on question number 3. We're going to look at it assuming that if it's a question that is tested in your time, what are the expected answers? Now, let's look at question number 3A. You are told, explain the following terms as used in valuation of security. And the first term that we need to explain is the term fair value. Fair value. Now, when you find the term fair value, it refers to the present value. It refers to the present value of all cash flows, expected over the lifetime, expected over the lifetime of a given security. Now, when you discount the future cash flows to get their present values, then the value gives you the fair value of that asset. The next term we need to look at is investment value. This is just the value you commit to acquire an asset. You are saying this is the amount of money, an investor commits. An investor would pay for property, The amount an investor would commit to acquire a property, then that amount is referred to as investment value. That is what the investor wants to bring into the business. Yeah. So in this case, we are saying that when you explain them that way, then you will be in good terms with what the examiner wanted. Now, let's go to part B. You are told in a finance and investment seminar, one of the facilitators noted that management of debtors is crucial in working capital management. With reference to the above statement, discuss the factors that might influence the level of debtors in a firm. Now, B, what can influence the level of debtors? The first one is the level of sales. Here we say that the level of sales, the higher the volume of credit sales, the higher the volume of credit sales, the greater the amount of debtors. The amount of debtors. And vice versa. When you sell most of your items on credit, then you facilitate to increase the amount of debtors. The next one is terms of credit. Here we say that a change in credit policy, has a direct impact, on debtors, on the debtors. Relaxed policy increases debtors. Relaxed policies increases debtors. Good. Another factor that leads to another factor is credit period. Here we say that it refers to the duration. It refers to the duration in which credit is extended. Credit is extended to customers. The longer the period, the greater the longer the period, the greater the amount of debtors. And lastly, we have what we call credit policies. We have what we call credit policies. We write this: the level of receivable balance, is closely related with the collection policy. So, in this case, we say that when the policy is so relaxed, then the risk associated with this will lead to higher amount of debts. So we say that credit policies determine the amount of risk. A firm is to undertake. In its sales activity. Good. That is it about part B, where you are required to give factors that influence the level of debts. When we move on to part C, you are told the following is the capital structure of KASNEB Limited. The following the capital structure of KASNEB Limited. Ordinary share capital is per value is 100 and the total value is 120 million. Preference share is 100 as well. The total value is 52,500,000. Debtors or not debentures, per value is 1,000. Then the total value is 40,500,000. Then you are told additional information. The company has paid ordinary dividends of 2.5. The dividend is expected to grow at a constant rate of 10% in the future and flotation cost of 12% of the market value. The current market price of an ordinary share of KASNEB Limited is 120. New preference shares can be sold at a cost of 140 per share with a dividend of shillings 15 per share and a flotation cost of shillings 8 per share. The company pays out of all its earning as dividend. The company will sell 14% debentures with the majority of 10 years at shillings 1.1 per debentures. The par value of the debenture is shillings 1,000. Corporate tax is 30%. Required, you determine the cost of ordinary share capital. You determine the cost of preference share capital. Then determine the cost of debenture capital. And finally, you work the market weighted average cost of capital. Work the market weighted average cost of capital. Now, let's do our workings here. We shall start with cost of ordinary share capital. Cost of ordinary share capital. The cost of ordinary share capital, it is the growth in dividend. The growth in dividend divided by the market price of the share plus G, then the whole of this times 100%. Yeah. So let's go to the question. Here you are told that the company has paid an ordinary, that means current is 2.5. Is expected to grow at the rate of 10%. And the flotation cost is 12% of the market value. And then you also told the current market price of ordinary share is KASNEB Limited is 120. So let's now calculate the cost. The dividend, which has already been declared, is 2.5. The growth is 10%, so plus 0.1 divided by the market price you have been told is 120, then plus 0.1. The whole of this multiplied by 100%. This will give you 12.29. 12.29%. That's how we find the cost of ordinary share capital. Then you are supposed to find the cost of preference shares. Cost of preference shares. The cost of preference shares, we just need to get the preference dividend divided by the market price of the dividend, market price of preference shares times 100%. There is no growth here. So let's go to the question. You are told that new preference shares has been sold at 140 per share with a dividend of 15. Flotation cost is 8%. So we come here and find our dividends is 15, then divide by 140 times 100%. This will give us what? This should give us 10.71%. 10.71%. That is the cost of preference shares. Let's get the cost of debentures. Part 3, we want to find cost of debentures. Cost of debentures. If you want to find the cost of debentures, or this is the cost of debt, the cost of debt, we shall use this formula. That means the cost of debt, we shall use this formula, present value minus market value divided by n, the whole of this divided by present value plus market value divided by 2. Now, what are these terms? When you find PV, this means par value. Par value per share. MV means market value or market price. Market price per share. And then the INT is the interest. And finally, what is missing there? N is the maturity period. Maturity period. So let's look at the cost of debt here. In our question, you are told the company will sell 14% debentures with a maturity of 10 years at 1,100 per debenture. The interest is 14%. So what is the interest here? 14%. 14% times 1,000. That gives you what? So interest here is, the interest is 140 plus the market, the par value is 1,000. We are getting 14% of 1,000. That is what we are getting, 140 plus the, that is par value. Market value is 1,100. The whole of this divided by 10 because that is the maturity period. Then we have 1,000 plus 1,100 divided by 2. Then we have to factor the tax. You have to, because we want to find the cost of debt after tax. Yeah. So this one we bring it here. This is interest plus par value minus market value divided by n, par value plus market value divided by 2. So when you do it this way, you'll find this is 140 minus 10 divided by 10, 50 times 0.5 times 100%. This is not 0.5. This should be 0.7. Because when you have 1 minus 0.3, this should be 0.7. And finally, this will give you 8.67. Now, that is how we find, that's how we find the cost of debt or the cost of debentures. The cost of debentures. Now, let's look at the weighted average cost of capital. The last one, part 4, we need to look at weighted average. Weighted average cost of capital. Cost of capital. Now, since we already have the cost of capital, we need to look at their weights. Weight is, we look at what proportions do they represent in our capital structure. We look at what proportions they represent in our capital structure. That is the weight. Now, if you look at ordinary shares, number of ordinary shares is the total value, which is 120 million, divide by 100, which is the par value. That is 1,200. Yeah. You see these figures. Remember, these figures are in thousand. Me, I'm working with them in thousand. Sorry, let me take you here. Here, this is 120,000, but remember they're in thousand. Is that okay? We are taking this in thousand. They are taking this in thousand because the thousands will cancel themselves. Therefore, if this is the number of shares, we ask ourselves, what is the market price? Or what is the market value? Market value is the number of shares times the market price, which give us 144,000, and the figures are in thousands. What about preference shares? Preference shares, the shares as well are 52,500 divided by 100. This gives us 525. Where are we getting these figures? We are saying, look here, the total value is 52,500, and the par value is 100. So you divide by this to get the number of preference shares. Once you get this, now you need to get the market price or the market value. The market value is the number of shares times the market price. 525 times 140. This gives us 73,500. Now, what about the debentures? Debentures. What is the value of debentures? If you look at the question here, you are told that the total value of debenture is 40,500,000, and the par value per debenture is 1,000. So we divide that. So you are going to have 40,500. We are going to have 40,500 divided by 1,000. This gives us 40.5. Then multiply by the market value. Market value, you are going to have 40. Market value, you are going to have 40.5 times 1,100. This gives us 44,550. Now, the total of this, now this one will give us our weight. The total of this, what is the total? We add all this. Total means I take 44,550 plus, what is this for market value for debentures, plus 73. This is 73,500 plus 144,000. This gives me a total market value of, the total of this is 262,050. Now we have to get the weights now. Having obtained this, what is the fraction? When you're talking about the weights here, we're talking about the fraction of, let me say, for instance, ordinary shares, 144,000 divided by 262. It gives us the proportions of debenture in the market, in the capital structure. When you're talking about the market value of the weights of preference shares is the market value of preference shares divided by the total. So let's now calculate our work. Ordinary shares are 144,000 divided by the total, which is 262,050 times the costs, which is 12.29%, plus preference shares, they are 73,500 divided by the total, which is 262,050 times the cost of preference shares was 10.71, plus the debentures were 44,550 divided by the total 262,050 times 8.67. So this means the first one is 6.75 plus 3.00 plus 1.47, and the work is 11.22%. Let me clarify something here. when we're talking about the work, the weighted average, we need to look at the fraction that the ordinary shares has in the capital structure times the cost of that ordinary share. The fraction that the preference shares has in the cost, the capital structure times the cost of the preference shares. And the fraction that debentures have in the capital structure times the cost of, and that's how we calculate work. So basically, that is what you expected to do so that you are able to score maximum marks in this question. We are going to stop there for now. We look forward to meet you in our next video. So goodbye.
So if you like this video, you can always enroll with us. You'll be able to access more of these revision sessions. And also you'll be able to find well done lectures or pre-recorded videos for all the KASNEB courses as well as CHRP. And in case of anything, you can always reach us out. We have our contact details on the screen. Feel free to call, feel free to WhatsApp anytime. So thank you, and let's meet in our next session.